Hello! Today I'm going to share with you my delicious quoting recipe that will make any paper you write much more delicious. First thing you need to do is gather your ingredients. You'll need one significant quote that supports your argument, one lead-in that provides the context of the quote, and one application that applies the quote to the thesis and the topic sentence. In order to prep your ingredients, you need to look at the quality of them. A. The quote length and relevance. Is your quote too long? Is it too short? If you have a quote that's only 2 words, you have to ask yourself, is that quote truly necessary, or can you paraphrase that? Also, if the quote's too long, your reader isn't going to want to read through all of those words of the published author that you are writing about. Instead, really hone in on the important words. The relevance of your quote is truly important as well. If it's just retelling the story, don't use it. Instead, you want to use a quote that is proving your argument. B. Your lead-in. You want to make sure it's not too informative or plotty. Don't restate the story. Don't give the entire context of the quote. But also, you want to make sure that it is not too vague in its information. Avoid lead-ins such as he said or she said. C. The application effectiveness. Does the application make an immediate connection, an immediate correlation between the quote and the argument? And finally, your word choice. Is the word choice and phrasing of your lead-in and application elementary, or is it sophisticated? Picking your perfect quote. The perfect quote should be 1. Supporting the main idea and argument of the paragraph. 2. Supporting the thesis statement. 3. Be something that you cannot easily put into your own words or paraphrase. 4. Be more than 2 typed lines. And 5. Not be dialogue between 2 or more characters. If you're wanting to use a quote that is part of a conversation between 2 characters, find the part of that conversation that is most prevalent to your argument. So let's take a look at 4 quotes, and I want you to choose which one you think would be the best in order to support a thesis about injustice towards blacks in To Kill a Mockingbird. The first one, guilty, 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 guilty. 2, Atticus aimed to defend Jim. That's what they didn't like about it. 3, Tom's dead. They shot him, 17 bullet holes in him. They didn't have to shoot him that much. 4, your father's no better than the ends and trash he works for. All right, let's look at number 1. Number 1 is not acceptable. And the reason why is because it's much too simplistic and can easily be paraphrased. Instead of using the quote, guilty, 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 the author of this paper can simply say that the jury found Tom Robinson guilty. Number 2, Atticus aimed to defend Jim. That's what they didn't like about it. This is more prejudice against Atticus than it is against blacks in Maycomb. Yes, it is injustice, but it's not the best example of injustice that we have here. So we're going to rule that one out too. 3, Tom's dead. They shot him, 17 bullet holes in him. They didn't have to shoot him that much. Okay, this looks like it definitely is proving injustice towards blacks because 17 bullet holes is more than is necessary to kill anyone. So that definitely looks like injustice. Let's take a look at number 4. Your father's no better than the ends and trash he works for. Again, this isn't really prejudice and injustice towards blacks. It's towards Atticus. So we're going to rule that one out. And 3 is in fact the best quote. To lead into the quote, you want to provide the context, and context includes who, what, when, where, why, and how. There will be times when you are not able to provide all of this information, and that is just fine. But you want to provide at least some of it. So if I'm prepping the lead-in, the topic of my paragraph is injustice towards blacks in Maycomb, and my quote is, Tom's dead. They shot him, 17 bullet holes in him. They didn't have to shoot him that much. Who? This is Atticus telling Aunt Alexandra and Scout about what happened. What? It's the announcement that Tom was killed. When? This is said during the ladies' tea in the kitchen. Where? In the Finch home. Why? It was when Atticus learned information. He needed to relay it to Aunt Alexandra. And how was it told? In person. So, keeping all of that in mind, look at the white text and let's see which lead-in works best for the quote. I'm not going to read the quote each time, rather I'm just going to read the lead-in. 1. Atticus tells Aunt Alexandra. 2. During a party of Aunt Alexandra's, Scout hears grave news as Atticus announces. 3. Scout heard Atticus say, during a party of Aunt Alexandra's, Scout hears grave news as Atticus announces. I apologize. There's a nice typo in my PowerPoint. Instead, it should simply say, Scout heard Atticus say. 4. Tom is killed while he tries to escape prison, and Atticus reveals the information, along with his thoughts of the unfairness of the killing, to Aunt Alexandra when he says, during a party of Aunt Alexandra's. Again, this is the problem with copy and paste. That part wasn't supposed to be there. So let me read that lead-in one more time. Tom is killed while he tries to escape prison, and Atticus reveals the information, along with his thoughts of the unfairness of the killing, to Aunt Alexandra when he says. Okay, I again apologize for the confusion with this. So let's look back at number 1. Atticus tells Aunt Alexandra. This is much too simplistic. 2. During a party of Aunt Alexandra's. Okay, here I know when. Scout hears grave news. I know who heard it. I know what she heard. As Atticus announces, I know who said it. Sounds pretty good. Number 3, Scout heard Atticus say. Again, much too vague. 4, Tom is killed while he tries to escape prison, and Atticus reveals the information, along with his thoughts of the unfairness of the killing, to Aunt Alexandra when he says. This is much too detailed. It's not necessary to say that Atticus reveals the information, nor that he is revealing his thoughts of the unfairness. This is information that should be saved for the application of the quote. So number 4 is going to be ruled out, and number 2 is our answer. So now it's time to blend the quote and the lead-in until it's smooth. Notice here in our graphic, we've got all of the different fruits layered and the liquid on the bottom. Think of the fruit as the quote and the liquid as the lead-in. Then, once blended, it creates a beautiful, unified drink. Same thing with our quoting. During a party of Aunt Alexandra, Scout hears grave news as Atticus announces, Tom's dead. They shot him, 17 bullet holes in him. They didn't have to shoot him that much. Notice how this is one complete sentence. Also, notice that it is not a run-on, nor is it a fragment. It is a complete idea. Plating the dish. Anyone who enjoys good food knows that presentation is just as important as taste and quality of ingredients. I want you to think of the application of your quote as the beautiful presentation of a dish. Here's a chef tip. Everything on your plate should look appealing, complement the dish, and be edible. So now think, in writing, this is applicable that everything needs to be appealing. It needs to complement your thesis and your topic sentence, and it needs to be relevant. So quote application tips. First, do not use the following words or any variation of them. Quote, shows, or proves. Secondly, do not summarize the quote. Summarizing the quote is very elementary. You, again, need to remember that your reader has, in fact, read the piece of literature, and they also read the quote, so they don't need you to restate it for them. Next, do not apply the quote with another quote. You need to use your own words for the application. Therefore, when you write a quote, you need to use your words immediately after it. Do apply the quote immediately after the quote. And finally, do tie the quote back to the topic sentence and the thesis. So let's look at some examples. Again, I'm only going to read the white text. The only reason Tom is convicted is because he is a black man, and a popular belief is that all black men are not to be trusted. Each of the 17 bullet holes in Tom reiterates the racism and anger towards blacks in Maycomb and the inability of the blacks to overcome the hatred felt for them. And I'm noticing here a typo. Next, Tom was shot 17 times because he is black, and that is racist. And finally, this quote shows racism because it does not take 17 shots to kill a person. 17 shots were used because the guards were racist. So let's look through these again. The only reason Tom is convicted is because he's a black man. Okay, that definitely addresses the thesis. And a popular belief is that all black men are not to be trusted. Well, this part is not relevant to the quote at all. So I'm going to rule this one out. Next, each of the 17 bullet holes in Tom reiterates the racism and anger towards blacks in Maycomb and the inability of blacks to overcome the hatred felt for them. The first part of this definitely addresses the thesis and the topic sentence. The second part, the inability of blacks to overcome the hatred felt for them, is relevant because it's representative of Tom's inability to get over the fence. So let's keep that one in mind. Third, Tom was shot 17 times because he is black, and that is racist. Much too simplistic. And it doesn't actually apply the quote the way we would like it applied. This quote shows, all right, ruling it out, never use these words. But let's take a look at the rest of it. Because it does not take 17 shots to kill a person, 17 shots were used because the guards were racist. Again, it's too straightforward. So our second one is in fact the best application of the quote. So the final step is adding all the ingredients to the blender and blending them. The final product should be cohesive, sophisticated, and smooth, and should give body or analysis to the paragraph.